Hello there, YouTube. This is Sibbles and Bits back at it again with another month of starting out the new year. Today we are going to start checking out Tiny Rogues Between Heaven and Hell expansion. For those of you who are not aware of previous content on the channel or just the channel in general, Month of is a series that I like to do, going a little bit more in depth on games than I'd like to say most other YouTubers do. Instead of just, like covering things at a surface level, we like to put at least 20 hours of content out there of various different things, hopefully. And I've really been enjoying Tiny Rogues, and I definitely feel like it was just the perfect time, especially with the recent expansion. Like, it shouldn't be like news to anybody that this game is blowing up, but if for whatever reason you don't know that the game is blowing up, the most recent expansion of the game is definitely, like, careful who you make fun of in high school, because it's actually like a game now. Before, like, when the game first came out, I was trying it, and it was just like, just find multipliers 5-head. Now it's still basically just find multipliers, but the way that the multipliers work are a lot more dense than most other games, and definitely more dense than it was before. The recent expansion added, like, pretty much double everything, and with that, like, a whole bunch of mechanics by which to make your builds, and making different builds and exploring different builds is actually fun in the game. So now I feel like it's a good place to show off. What else to say? We're probably just going to be playing a regular, like, Cinder Zero run, because usually the first video of a series, we're going to over-explain things to a point to where I don't have to, like, explain how the game itself works, for those of you who don't know how the game works. For those of you guys that do know how the game works and are just looking for more content, apologies, but also there's no shortage of that out right now, and hopefully future videos will help with, satiate that need. So we're also going to change our starting gift to Bomb Pouch, mainly because that's available to anybody starting the game, and we're probably just going to go ahead and play the hero. Now, we do have meta progression unlocked. We do also have, like, the skill tree unlocked. We'll go over this in a different video, because if I was to go over that and everything else, it'd be a very long video. And I'm going to try and keep this under 1 hour. We're going to see how that goes. Main reason why I take bombs is because of the level 1 trinkets. I think that they're probably the least... They're incredibly undervalued, is what I'm trying to say. Bombs, especially at higher cinder levels, are, like, probably the one thing that I wish I always had more of. Otherwise, like, taking an additional heart is fine, but as an accessory, there's a lot better things that you can get besides a heart, and starting with gold in the early game doesn't really mean anything, and starting with extra keys saves you a couple rooms, but I don't think that they're as valuable as bombs. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and start the game, and... So, what is Tiny Rogues? Tiny Rogues is a technically bullet hell roguelike. It's very similar to games like Enter the Gungeon or Binding of Isaac, and it also takes a lot of mechanical inspiration from games like the old school Diablos, Path of Exile, Dead Cells, and what's the last one I'm forgetting? Dark Souls. And it kind of wears those inspirations on its sleeve quite a bit, but other than that, if you played Binding of Isaac or Enter the Gungeon, you pretty much can make out most of what's going on this screen. We are currently on floor 1, room 1, There are 10 floors in the base game, and then you can go up to floor 12 depending on your meta progression and stats. We'll talk more about that later. And each floor typically has 10 rooms in it, but there's also meta progression that you can take to either lengthen or shorten that. Over here is our hearts. Anytime that we take damage, we lose a heart. There is no, well, there technically is half hearts, but it usually doesn't become a thing because that only happens when we heal ourselves and we're poisoned. Blue hearts are a soul heart, so in other words, that's a heart that will only exist for one hit, and then I cannot technically regain it back. I have to get more soul hearts. Otherwise, we have 2 flasks down here, each of which will restore 1 red heart. This is a revive, unlocked through meta progression. Basically what that does is if I die, run out of hearts, it will revive me with 2 hearts at the, well, immediately. And this does not recharge normally. Down here is our stamina. We are able to dodge with invulnerability frames, but we have to stop dodging for 2 seconds before it'll start recharging. That can, again, be improved through meta progression, and even made worse due to Cinder modifiers, which is like the Ascension levels of this game. Down below that is our mana. I understand that this is a lot of stuff, but mana only works with magic weapons. So if I switch my weapon here, my fists are obviously not arcane, therefore they do not gain the benefits of mana. What mana does is it gives 20% more damage to magic weapons per star that I currently have. And when I attack, I will absorb a certain amount of mana, and if it goes red here, that just means that I deal negative damage. Now, if I use a certain amount of stars, let me try and do that now. I guess it won't happen outside of combat, but it'll spawn a star somewhere on the battlefield. If I pick that up, then I go into Star Surge, which basically just gives me access to even more mana. Otherwise, we got our gold, keys, our bombs, our souls, which is an in-game alternative currency, which is used in some situations, especially if you want to get to those, like, level floor 12. You pretty much need to figure out a way to use your souls. And then, of course, our experience bar. I should note that normally it takes 5 experience in order for you to level up, but due to the meta progression that I have chosen, I start with 5, but all my levels take 6. And there are 6 total levels that we can get. We'll open up our character sheet here. And so, technically speaking, by taking that meta progression, I need more experience in order to reach max level, so it's a net loss. But gaining a level earlier has a bunch of benefits. Last few things that I'm going to cover before we go into the game here. Each character has a passive. The hero's passive is that we gain luck depending on how good our alignment is. There's alignments kind of like D&D. You can be lawful, you can be chaotic, you can be evil, you can be good. You actually can't be chaotic right now because that hasn't been put into the game, but just as an example. And they also start with if I can press the right buttons, an inventory. And you can have 2 weapons that you can swap with mouse wheel, but not while your inventory's up, apparently. And we also start with a hero cape as part of our base equipment, which grants us increased damage according to how good we are. And we start at default as +1 good. We have attributes too, just like Path of Exile, I would say Diablo 3, Dota, however you want to say it, and each of these things do different things, but again, in order to keep everything down to a minimum of explanation and not to absolutely lose everybody, we're going to start playing the game and explain some of that stuff later. Generally speaking, you're going to be given only 2 rooms to choose from, and, well, we already have bombs, so we're going to go to keys. I don't think that requires much explaining. Each level has, obviously, a different biome of enemies, if you will, and those enemies have different attack patterns. The room itself can be enchanted and grant enchanted mobs. you'll hopefully see that, but when we do our Cinder 16 run, you will definitely see that. So just keep that in mind for later. There are secret rooms. I have them exposed just so that I can kind of see how they look like for now. Otherwise, that's a meta progression that I can obviously take off. I am mentioning a whole bunch of meta progression, and I should state up front that you do not get access to all of the meta progression, so you have to pick and choose what's best for you or fits your playstyle. I kind of like that in the game, where it's not just like, okay, I've played so much of the game that now, you know, the game's like ridiculously easy. I'm actually going to go ahead and take dexterity here. We can explain here. All your food items give you +1 XP, so this will level me up. And each stat also gives you specific benefits. Dexterity in particular gives you 1% increased attack speed, plus 0.5 increased movement speed, as you can see here. This addition was very nice, because if I take certain traits on level up that interact with my dexterity or equip certain items, that is like, okay, per point of dexterity, this is going to update in real time, and it's very nice to be able to see that at a glance. These enemies really shouldn't pose me too much of a problem, hopefully. Okay. Interesting. I think I'm going to try point blank, which means that we need to put on this this bow instead. And so, I don't know if I held over the hover there, but getting crushing hit, all your damage comes into a roll. This is including all of my stats here, including the attacks per second has been scaled up. If I hold, I believe it's shift, you can see the base attacks per second, but unfortunately not the base damage. What crushing hits do is it guarantees the top end of that roll. So if I get a crushing hit, I am always going to do base 243 damage. Now obviously, choosing to be ranged and then going into melee range to get close enough to get that crushing hit is not exactly ideal. But like I said, and I'm willing to eat my words as soon as I get bopped here, shouldn't have too much trouble, especially during this point in the game. Is the tavern good for me? Not really. So, another thing to note is that all items have what is called attunement. This is to keep you from just swapping gear in and out. Like, for example, just taking this vampire cloak if I take damage in a room and being like, okay, I'll just swap that onto my body, and then that way after the fight, I will heal the 1 heart because I took damage, and then I'll switch back to the hero cape. Not how the game works. In order to prevent that, they have this thing called attunement. At the bonfire, you can attune any gear that you have, but any gear that you get from bosses or otherwise is on those pedestals, those will always be attuned, pre-attuned. So if you equip them within that room, you're perfectly fine. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this candy. You may be saying, well, aren't you doing like this range build? Range is kind of dex, your weapon scales off of dex, so don't you want to avoid stats like intelligence? Absolutely not. In my opinion, just gaining any stat is just perfectly fine. The other benefit that I get for grabbing intelligence is that, well, first off, if I get a weapon that does scale off of intelligence, that's a whole lot more extra damage, and each point of intelligence gives me, I thought that was a different one for a second there, I was so excited. Each point of intelligence gives me 1% critical chance. So even if you're not, say, a air quotes dex build or strength build, etc., there's still merit in grabbing those other stats unless you pick up a trait like beef, which was offered to us on our first level up. It was the option all the way down at the bottom, I believe, which doubles the benefit of, say, strength, but then eliminates the benefits of any other stat. At that point, yeah, okay, maybe, but then you still get to scale your weapon damage off of it, so having some is still good, and gaining your levels is still good. I guess I'm going to take this disc launcher +1. Weapons can have +1, +2, +3, etc., etc. I'm being attacked by a mimic right now. That's fine by me because it means that I don't have to use a, well, I guess it was unlocked anyways, but if it was a locked chest, I get the items for free and more items, so that's always good to see. I don't want anything in the shop. I don't remember what I was talking about. Ah. Good lord. Okay. So, what the +1, +2, +3, potentially +4, 5, 6 with certain builds does is that is a damage multiplier that is applied to the base damage of your weapon, which is independent of the weapon's damage scaling and the % damage that you get off of strength. Again, as I mentioned before, the game is still just grab multipliers 5-head, except it's not really 5-head. You actually have to, like, somewhat work out a cohesive build in order to get something, like, really strong. Because what they've done from the last Tiny Rogue, like, expansion, I would say, or, like, release, is they took all that power, broke it up, threw it all over the place, and pretty much crushed it into a whole bunch of different engines that you have to piece together to work. Stuff like criticals not being so easy, stuff like the new luck system, allowing you to do lucky hits, which can proc abilities, but also allows you to roll twice for crits. And set items, which can pretty much, like, choose your build for you. galaxy ring. We don't have any orbitals. Mercenary armor is interesting. Rondosh. Can we equip? This is one-handed? Okay. So another thing to note is that we have a thing called equip load. This is to prevent you from equipping air quotes the best items in the game, or just a whole bunch of heavy armor on a build that otherwise probably shouldn't have access to heavy armor. If you go over your equip load, you'll incur a whole bunch of penalties, but so long as you're under that, you can equip things with no intrinsic deficit. Your items, again, still work if you're over your equip load, but what it basically does is it reduces your top end damage, you lose crit chance, movement speed, stamina recovery, mana regeneration, basically all the things that contribute to your damage. So ways to get equip load is that there's items, but most importantly, every point of strength is going to give you 5 equip load. So if you want to be able to use heavy armor or air quotes medium armor, it's important to make sure that you're also grabbing strength. And again, that's part of the whole idea of all stats are important. I don't really see builds at this point as it's a strength build, it's a dex build, it's an intelligence build. Everything's pretty important. And of course, we'll absolutely take this because we can fit it on our character. We get access to gloves, boots, body armor, helmet, accessory, offhand, and then we can swap between 2 weapons. Obviously, if we have a 2-handed weapon, then we don't get access to our offhand. It will still give you equip load, so be wary of that. But other than that, I don't know. We have 8 inventory slots at default and 4 charms, which are basically passive bonuses that don't otherwise take up inventory space or character slots. These are tough, but I don't think I'm actually going to use either of those. 30 gold might be better than 1 strength. I'll take the strength. My inventory is quite full, but it's mostly full of junk that I can just drop on the floor. We're gonna go ahead and take 2 to 3 random consumables. This doesn't require a key, not that that matters with the amount of keys that we have, but most importantly, consumables are pretty powerful in this game. Green blossoms allow us to get +1 stamina for a limited time, and purging stones here allow us to remove curse, which is the exact opposite of luck, which is kind of what our character's innately built into. Again, the more good alignment that we have, the more luck that we have for free. And then of course you can also get stuff like these supplements, which basically makes it so that for the next 3 times that I gain strength, I will gain 1 additional strength. Pretty useful. These potions, I'll just go ahead and chug. There's probably, I believe, 6 to 8, maybe 10 potions in the game. I do want to go here. Gosh darn it. guy wants me to have a rare weapon. I only have a blue or like uncommon weapon. Enchantress can add an extra affix like straight onto my weapon, which is almost always good, but not on a weapon that I plan to get rid of. So, considering that this was pretty scuffed, we're just going to go ahead and buy some beer. The game also has what's referred to as a tipsiness or like alcohol drunk system, where equivalent to your hearts, you can have that much tipsiness or booze. There's all sorts of different booze in the game. Beer is the most simple, and it adds 10% increased damage. Wine does increase damage over time, and then the third one here is always randomized. We had access to rum, which is lucky hit chance, which seems like it was actually better for us than beer, but we're gonna go ahead and not copium over that. You even have sometimes random adventures, which will give you beer as well. Like this Viking here will give you mead, which gives you 10% increased attack speed with melee weapons. Obviously not good for us since we're trying to go into sort of like a ranged build. Now, other things to note, you can go ahead and refresh the entire inn for 10 gold. This nurse is usually, unless you take a meta choice, always here, and what she will do is for the low price of 10 gold, will fully heal your hearts and your flasks, which is kind of nice. And then there's a whole different assortment of random characters that can be in here, including the Enchantress, the Viking over there, this knight over here that's trying to give me a blacksmith whetstone, this guy trying to give me a repair powder, etc., which is why you would want to reroll the inn. Now, I obviously don't care much about any of that, so we're just going to go ahead and leave. Most importantly, certain characters in the inn are a very good way to gain good alignment. So that's kind of why I was fishing for it, despite not necessarily. And that right there, our luck just hit that item and made it into what it considered a more favorable item. I could be wrong, but I was pretty sure that that was gold beforehand. Upgraded it to +3 strength. I would probably say that +3 strength is better than some gold. Now, important thing to note, this is still one food item, so it's not going to give us 3 XP. It's going to still give us 1 XP. Still, kind of alright with that. I'm not worrying too much about the fact that we still have that crushing hit on range and close range because, well, I'm mostly trying to stay safe. We'll go ahead and we'll grab a companion here. Might as well. As you may have noticed, pretty much every boss has 2 phases. The second phase, they are definitely more aggressive and have more aggressive attack patterns. Bullet patterns, whatever you want to call them. Green bullets will give me poison. We don't like poison. Hello, hello. A purple item, T-bone steak, melee critical hit chance. Unfortunately, that's kind of useless for us. Increased dash length, increased range damage. I guess we're going to take a hawk. Not exactly the most exciting companion, but we'll take it. So, naturally, we have 1 companion, like, load limit, whatever you want to call it. Companion capacity, 0 of 1. And so, each companion item has a companion weight. So it's possible for you to find items that have 0.5 companion weight or 0.3 companion weight, which will give you 2, and 3 companions respectively. You can obviously increase your companion limit and have more companions and do like a pet build if you want. One of the alternative classes is very well predisposed towards that. So when you've gotten far enough in the meta progression of the game, or like the storyline, if you will, they call them world tiers, you will get access to these shops sometimes after bosses. And what these do, I'll just go ahead and walk into one, is they will offer you items for souls. And if you buy them, they will also, as you see, give us +1 lawful, or +1 good, +1 evil, depending on which shop it is. Now, obviously, I am trying to lean into my character and go on a good run, and to be honest, like literally all of these are kind of garbo for me, so we're gonna just keep going. Now, we do have enough souls. If I wanted to, I could gain favor at the bonfire here, which would allow me to gain one of these base resources, HP, stamina, or mana, and that would be permanent. But for 30 souls, I'm not willing to do that when I'm trying to use my souls in order to increase my good rating. And go ahead here and explain resins. So, we got a random infusion. What basically infusions are is that they will grant us weapon damage, or at least that's my understanding of it. It might actually be global damage now after the update, but it gives us flat damage, in this case 15 to 35 cold damage, for an amount of rooms, in this case 10. The important thing to note about that it's not helping us with a tooltip here, is that most of these resins give you elemental damage of damage that causes status effects on hit. And what cold damage does is slow the target, so that it fires less frequently, moves less frequently, so on and so forth. So generally speaking, pretty good, especially for free on your weapon. That could be helpful, especially with the fact that we're going up to rare weapons here. Our luck popping off there and enchanting the snow launcher, which deals cold damage. Increased damage to enchanted enemies. This is melee. We wouldn't particularly care for it. 25 more damage to health is actually quite significant. A staple gun, that's kind of hilarious. Puncture, stackable debuff that adds flat damage. That could be insane. And it's relatively fast. That's going to be a lot of damage though, with the triple damage scaling. Even though it may not look so, because you know it's 2 Ds and a C, damage scaling in this game is currently a little wonky. So long as damage scaling is there, it's good for you. Why not? I haven't done a snow launcher run. I would actually like to do this staple gun sometime, but I'm not sure if I'd be willing to get into... Well, I guess getting into melee range and getting crushing damage on that wouldn't be too bad, but I kind of like the damage range on this a little bit more on this. I need equipment space, of course. We're talking about how these are garbage, so let's go ahead and get rid of those. I'm going to go ahead and equip that, and I actually want to equip the disc launcher in the other hand. Snow launcher is also one-handed, so we still get access to our shield. Curse is a bit rough. Basically, curse is the exact opposite of luck. if you roll a cursed hit due to your cursed level, then what that does is that takes your critical chance, rolls it twice, and then takes the worst result. So in other words, you have to crit twice in order to crit with cursed hits. Sometimes you don't care about that. Now, even though we're going to get this curse here, I'm not too concerned because we have a purging stone in our inventory. We'll just get rid of it. And then of course, since luck has been buffing up our rewards, having cursed can also, nerf your rewards and make them worse. Dominance isn't terrible here. Boozer also isn't terrible. Gaining double drink. If we get access to rum again, then that's 20% lucky hit chance right there, which will, again, roll our crits twice. Huh. That's tough. For the record, dominance would increase the effect of our boost as well, although like getting it up to 100% is highly unlikely. I think we'll go with Boozer. Boozer will be fine. And so whenever you see a damage number and it's red, that's a crit. And then if there's a little clover by it, that is a crit that was provided by a lucky hit. So you can kind of, see the effects of our luck as we gain more. Right now, you're not going to see it that often. We do need more bombs. The other thing that I haven't mentioned about bombs is that you have seen secret entrances that are uncovered via bombs. You've seen rock-covered doors that are covered by bombs, or that are uncovered by bombs. What you haven't seen is that pretty much any reward that I'm given, a chest, some altars, and some various other things, I can also bomb those to get rewards as well. If I don't particularly care to, like, say, use a key on this chest here, I can just go ahead and get rid of it. Just something to keep in mind. We have keys, we might as well. I just walked into that, man. That is what we in the biz call bad damage. I suppose now is a good time to point out, those of you who are familiar with the channel know that I am afflicted by a condition known as a vestibular hypofunction. Basically, it's inner ear damage, arguably brain damage, hard to actually tell, where I actually have difficulties with things like balance, and more specifically, even tracking things moving across the screen can cause nausea, disorientation, and just overall double vision, migraines. That's not copium because I just took a hit. I realized that I took bad damage, but when things start getting absolutely ridiculous, know that I'm probably not having a good time. That said, if I'm playing this game with the vestibular hypofunction, it's got to be good. Then again, I always loved bullet hell games. It's just, it's much harder for me to play them now that I have such a condition. Thankfully, that was my block. Or it wasn't my block. I lost a block before. Is that right? No, I just lost my soul heart. That's what happened there. Block is like a heart that regens every floor. The chance of luck and curse taking effect are both 0. That doesn't seem like something that I want. Increased damage dealt to dragons, very important. Increased attack speed, less important. Took the Drake Charm. That seems good by me. I should probably actually, like, use that Purging Stone that I said that I had a while ago. So as we go into this new floor, you will see that we are going to get our block back. It's now full. Dude really wants my stuff, doesn't he? Blood Altar would take my block away. Not really a fan of that. I suppose we could kind of game that. Kind of happy with my weapon. Random potion wouldn't be bad. We got quite a bit of gold. Feeling pretty good about that. Refills 1 health flask. Honestly, not too concerned about that, but we might as well. Because again, I don't really plan on grabbing another ranged weapon unless it's like actually free. I may have all these keys, but I'm not going to just blow them on like maybe it's good. I'm going to go ahead to this arcade. It'll give us a lot of stuff. Very high chance of getting stuff like soul hearts, XP out of this. It's usually almost always a good expenditure of your money. Go ahead, take our vitamins, take that. Green blood, like this is too much. This is literally too much. I have more Twilight branches than I can actually use. I probably shouldn't have done this on a luck character. We're gonna have so much shit. Power shards came out of that box. They're just free XP. They don't give us any stats though, but again, we're going to eat food regardless, even if we're max level, so might as well take it. Power is increased damage, so I don't appreciate it more than other multipliers, but it also adds an equivalent amount of AoE, which is appreciated sometimes. Not on this build, because we throw projectiles and not AoEs. Battle Rush isn't bad because it is increased damage as well, but it's also some movement speed, and it doesn't require like other gimmicks. I don't know. Brawler's not bad. In most, so boss fights are usually what's going to kill you, but the thing that you're going to take the most bad damage to is usually the later, like, normal rooms. And normal rooms usually have more than 4 enemies. So, including yourself and my pets, like that would be 6 actors in this case. So you're almost always going to get this when you need it, and especially if you're a minion build, it's almost always free because even versus a single boss, this is going to be 30% increased damage, 30% AoE. Could be important. Now that I say it that way, it seems kind of stupid that I would take something like Battle Rush, but Battle Rush again has 30% movement speed and it sort of like oscillates. What Battle Rush also does is it'll trigger your combat start effects periodically. Now, both trigger and periodically are in different colors because it's pretty important. Periodically is anything that occurs over a certain amount of time, and trigger is anything that is triggered by one of your effects. Both of these things can be itemized and built into. You can have, like, say, a bunch of start of combat effects, and so then this is going to proc those start of combat effects. You might have stuff that makes your periodically occur more often, maybe even equipment. So then you're getting this and all your other periodicals occurring more often. Arrogance, we don't taunt or charm, so really doesn't do anything. So I'm, in light of actually talking about it out loud, which again is kind of like a good thing about me doing these over explains out loud, because it gives me time to actually like think about what I'm doing instead of just like doing what I always do. Oh my good lord, like this is, it's so many items. Please. I'm gonna stop our luck right there. I'm gonna blow this up and gain a bunch of dice. Now I would show you what dice are, except that there's food on the other side of this wall. I'm going after the food. Whoop. Okay, so basically what dice are, I'm willing to reroll 1 strength, is they allow you to influence RNG. If you have a stat that you don't want anymore, you can always use an obsidian dice to change it, which is good for pivots or like, okay, like, I could honestly see us getting a good weapon and then rolling out of the range damage gaining crushing hit at close range and just being like, okay, we don't really care about that anymore. Give me literally anything else. Ethereal dice, or blue dice, or white dice, whatever you want to call these, allow you to reroll the traits that are offered to you. So if you don't like any of those 3, then you can go ahead and reroll those as well. Gold allows you to reroll anything on the floor, similar to Isaac's D6 in Binding of Isaac. And red dice allow you to reroll the rewards before you enter a room. So in other words, right here we can go ahead, reroll, reroll. Tell you what, I am willing to take, you guessed it, plus 3 strength. Now you might be saying, but Bits, you're a dex build. You should be grabbing dex. Again, I don't see stats like that. When I see strength, I see a more damage multiplier. When I see dex, I see attack speed. Attack speed, unfortunately, due to the just how the math works on rates, has diminishing returns. Not really about that, personally. I hate this boss. Thank God for block. Ugh. Relatively clean. Palm hits? Your ruthless hits are crushing and vice versa. Oh my god, hold up. We might be keeping the crushing. Flip-flops. Lucky hits from primary attacks guarantee a cursed hit with your next primary attack, and vice versa. That's a little rude. +1 suppression, which is a bonus heart that's only available during bosses, and grants increased melee damage. Not really about that. The crushing hits being ruthless hits is kind of good. Basically what ruthless hits are is they take your top end damage, which is, if you'll allow me, obviously this top end damage right here, 595, and doubles it, which is essentially a crit, especially when you're also taking a look at the fact that any crushing hits are ruthless hits, which guarantees top end. That means that if we are in close range in our current build, we will deal 1,000 base cold damage, which is kind of nice. Also note that that is not exclusive from lucky hits and critical hits. So we can still critical hit and then deal another double damage on top of that, which means that we would deal 2,000 damage. That's a lot of damage. A good shop, thank goodness. Pun not really intended. Damage to undead won't really help us if we're going good path. A free evade is very nice. I do appreciate that. We don't have armor, but you know what? I'll buy it just because we want good. We are now at 4% or 4 luck, which means that our lucky hit chance is going up to the moon, meaning that we are more likely to crit. But most importantly, luck itself makes it so that we can find better items. I don't think that I need this or this, and I can't sell you at shops. Now, in order to access floor 12, we need 5 of the correct alignment. Go ahead and attune the items that I picked up. Again, I bought those from a shop. They weren't on pedestal, so they still need to be attuned, which means that we'll just do that here. Pardon me for a second. Thank you. More critical hit chance is pretty good when we're this lucky. Ooh. You'll notice that these enemies are flashing purple, and up at the top right it says that they are molten enchanted, which means they explode like that. Ooh. There's all sorts of different enchantments in the game. Some of them are definitely more deadly than others. And there's a whole bunch of different enchantments that you can only get with a Cinder modifier. So that's fun. Or not, depending on your opinion. These really aren't doing it for me. Give me my dice. +1 strength is better than using more dice, I suppose. We re-rolled it earlier, but, like, there's a difference in using, like, your 5th red dice and using your 3rd red dice. I'll take an event. That's a lot of money. We even got lucky and got, like, a ton more money. Meat shank is appreciated. That is a locked cellar, we have more than enough keys, so we will be exploring that afterwards. Blessed Hammer. Blessed Hammer is not bad. Shock Aura is very good. Shock Aura adds flat lightning damage to our attacks so long as the enemy is in our aura radius, which will be relatively close to close range as far as our crushing hit perk and our ruthless perk. Shock also, or lightning damage, also deals shock damage, and of course the aura itself will also deal shock for free, which is another more multiplier, 4% per stack, stacking 5 times up to 20%. So again, it's a multiplier. That's really freaking good. Alternatively, we can go with Blessed Hammer, which is on a lucky hit, which is determined by any bonus lucky hit chance we have, but also our luck. It's currently 30%. We will throw a free on hit effect, which is going to deal quite a bit of damage. This also, actually, I don't think this counts as that hit from attacks are not themselves considered. Okay, so they can't be primary. I don't think that this counts as range damage. If it does, then it can also get the re-crushing bonus and all that. Anyways, radiant damage adds a debuff to enemies, which makes them more likely to be critically hit, which, again, is kind of what we're doing right now. Berserking is also somewhat notable here. We have a decent critical hit chance. We ruthless hit in melee range. It gives us Berserk, which is 20% more attack and movement speed for 8 seconds. That's kind of good. So that 20% more is also very important because basically anything that says more is multiplicative, not additive. And so gaining 20% more attack speed would make it so that, let's go ahead and go on to offense here. Already gaining like a ton of damage scaling, by the way. Where's our attacks per second? Right here. So our attack speed is plus 17%, which is adding into 2 to give us an extra 0.34. 20% more multiplies into this number here, not adding into this number here, which is very important. Allows us to get some ludicrous attack speed. I think that that is pretty good. If I can close my character panel here. I'm kind of debating between these three right here. This currently isn't good enough for me to consider an additional 7% lucky hit chance. I think we might go ahead with Berserking, because this is just all around fitting our build. Ambrosia gives us one of our highest stat, which is currently Strength, if you've been keeping track at home. Pawn shop, unfortunately we only have this vampire cloak to sell and this octo-shot crossbow. We could go ahead and get rid of this disc launcher, I suppose. We've kind of made it inferior. Like, the only thing that the disc launcher does is bounce off of walls, which is quite helpful, honestly. Maybe we'll go ahead and keep that, but we can't sell him consumables. It's still pretty much worth going in here. 2 to 3 consumables versus a tavern is very rough, but if we get this NPC, we can just go ahead and buy a purging stone, which is good to have, but also gives us a good. So now we're going to be able to reach floor 12, assuming we survive. And then while we're at it, let's get a Santa gift box. Blacksmith whetstone, which is basically a free upgrade. I don't think that that's necessary. I suppose we might as well use them. Again, those weapon upgrades is 10% more damage in a different multiplicative bin than other more damage. And we'll take our last upgrade here. Guns typically can only upgrade to +3. Melee weapons, if you use a blacksmith whetstone or at a specific blacksmith, can upgrade up to +4. And then itemization and all other sorts of stuff can also improve the level of your weapon beyond what it normally would be. I believe the highest I've gotten is a +6, which is a lot of extra damage. Not sure that that's worth it, to be honest. The +1 strength, -1 intelligence. But we're doing it. Because it's food. Give me a charm. Yeah, we're making that ruthless, or that crushing ruthless really work for us right now. Oh. I do not think that we're going to get this done. I'm going to have to, like, speed run the rest of this game, unfortunately. Increased companion damage per aura you have? That could be good. An accessory for even more cold damage? I think the 1 armor is, like, pretty much a given. Okay, so I'm going to try and explain less in an attempt to just, like, get through this. If I try explaining something and then losing it in the middle of combat, I apologize. Feel free to ask again for clarification in the comments down below. An epic weapon. Not too bad. We have the money to buy a new weapon. Ice Fang. It's literally our weapon, but better. Yeah. And inflicts frostbite, which gives us a damage pop. Pretty good. Rocket launcher's kind of funny. A boomerang. What? And this has all 3 scaling, so we want it. Yeah. Okay. Okay, game. The only thing to note is that that does get rid of our offhand. But it does allow us to, like, swap over and, like, tactically, we're not going to do that. If we get access to a quiver, that will allow us to buff 2-handed bows, regardless of the fact that they normally would not have access to 2 hands. And you double hit? Oh my god. Yeah, this is definitely much better. I'll take 1 free armor. Probably should have paid attention that your range is, like, significantly worse. We don't deal thrusting damage. Does our bird? Striking. Of course you do. Well, we can sell that. It's currently going in a slot that we have no other use for. Let's go ahead and re-roll that. Let's try not to get rid of more intelligence. Beef is fine. An 8,000 crit, oh my lord. The one thing that I want right now is more attack speed. I want more attacks. Rage will do that. In fact, I think we get 2 rage since we attack twice, technically. I think I can deal with this. Some sort of crazy-ass berserker. I'll take another good. Oh, I can only hit you once. Never mind. I don't think that I need the curse removal, do I? Because it's not bad to have. We don't have the reduced inventory space due to Cinder. You have rum, you have tequila. Critical hit multiplier. That's honestly probably better for us. Spare no expense. Bottoms up. Now, because we have Boozer, we don't take damage from that, but otherwise, if you go past your tipsiness, you will take 1 point of damage. Important to note. But you can also utilize that in some builds if you want to actually take damage. It's weird. It's strange. Perhaps, but who am I to judge? Do you, like, give me actual rewards? Thank you. One epic item? Okay. Yeah. We got ourselves a build, boys. Oh, there's thrusting damage. Instead of the panda? Increased damage dealt with lucky hits. We can probably get rid of that, to be honest. On bleed tick, inflict a stack of hemo. That would be good if we bled. Yeah, that is not bad. I'm willing to equip that. Now we're a berserker. We kind of have enough, like, good. We might as well buy 1. Give me more gold. Don't really need it, but with a curse up, I'm less likely to roll with the dice because one of the options basically isn't available to me. I mean, it technically is. We have a purging stone, but I'm saving that. Because some enemies have purple bullets, and purple bullets give you curse. I don't want to be cursed. I want to be lucky. That's such a good weapon. Holy Lord. I'll keep it as a pivot option. We have enough obsidian dice. We can re-roll the ranged attack options. It would basically be berserking and boozer. Not boozer. Point blank. These two. We could re-roll these two and just go with the life scythe. I just hate it because it's vestibular gaming, but holy shit is that a good weapon. One thing to note, especially as I play in the future, purple items aren't, like, yeah, they're probably better than, like, rare items or yellow items, but yellow items are good enough to win the game. I would even argue, like, obviously, if you're, like, much better than I am, you can probably win the game with, like, white items, but very often Let's just go in here. Thank goodness it's free. Holy Lord. Very often, these yellow items have either... They have a place for you to pivot your build. Or, like, they can be built on. Like this dealing explosive damage. Obviously, if I could crushing hit with this, which it's ranged, I can. If I want to stuff someone in the face with a bazooka, I can do that. And when you build into rares, they work for you. They'll win runs. The other thing to note is that as you go up the ranks, it usually requires you to have more stuff in order for it to actually be good. Like most of them will have like a single S rank scaling, which again, you want more access to scaling, as in like all three of them present, more than you want an S. That's my tip to you guys today. I do want to sell these though, that's for sure. I don't want to take that. Hello? Why yes, I'll take food. What is this? Boar grants increased damage with crushing hits? Oh! What are you doing? You just do increased range damage. You do have better DPS. But holy lord. Anyways, that's not worth it. We'll go ahead, we'll take this beef and use the, I probably should. But we're kind of loaded. Yes, I'll take 2 soul hearts. I can't believe I didn't actually dash there. I swore I hit the button, but I very well could just be bad. This is the black market. Interacting here gives me 1 evil, which counteracts my good. Kinda don't want it, but you know, sometimes illegal Tommy guns are worth it. I wouldn't necessarily say in this case. Angel Charm's pretty good, but it's also kind of awkward to get that. I'm sure you guys understand. It's a little weird. I didn't mean to do that. Go ahead and upgrade my weapon. I thought he was still alive. I admittedly lost complete track of him. Let's go ahead and get these potions. They're going to be annoying because we got to chug them one at a time. Potions are just good. Like I said, we gotta build. That's not bad. That's not good for us. That's okay. I guess we took the 1 undead charm, right? We don't need that. Get rid of that. Instead, take 3% crit chance. Another good shop. Let's go. We're gonna get so lucky. Is it possible to get permanent luck? We could get rid of this. On dash, your next primary hit deals a guaranteed critical hit. That's probably not really necessary. Extra invincibility seems very good. Damage dealt to dragons is still relevant. Is that relevant? Think of all these things as your charm is worse than this. And then I'll just leave that on the floor, honestly. Legendary weapon probably isn't going to be worth it, in all honesty. Okay. I get it, game. Bone Force is worth it. Mega Machine Gun is also probably worth it. So they're about the same damage. Bone Force allows me to reroll one of my stats. We lose a lot of damage scaling though by losing our intelligence. God, that's rough. Okay. I think Heavy Draw is better than Best Friends Forever. Tripling the effect of our companion right now will just give us 30% increased damage, whereas allowing our strength to go into the dexterity scaling of our weapon basically means that we get to count strength twice, and that is currently worth a lot. Like, just take my word for it. We're at A, so it's... I don't want to say it's like another 90%, but it's a lot. It was way more than 90%. Oh my good lord. Is this strength... I'll be honest, this keeps looking better and better. I somehow forgot that that was like a 5-shot. Yeah, it's definitely better. And since it guarantees a crushing hit, we can reroll the crushing hit at close range and improve our build even more. We can use some frostbite, technically. We probably won't. Okay, so let's go ahead and re-roll that trait. Cheap shot. Unlucky hit gains cheap shot, increasing secondary attack damage. We don't have any of those. Game. Swagger. 5 primary attacks. Next primary attack deals guaranteed critical hit and triggers on dash effects, which we currently have a helmet. Heyo! This seller will take us to the black market. Again, we don't really want to be there. Rum is tempting, but we're at the point where we're critting a lot. I think that the tequila is just straight up better at this point. Are you a plus? You are not a +3. Let's make that happen. I'm gonna make that happen for you. Get stuffed? What? Damage to feared. Recover 1 point of mana on dash. Kind of cute. Kind of crazy. Rubber gloves. Increase effective ailments per infusion buff you have. We has none. Dropping a bomb. Trigger your defy death effects and your dash effects. Triggering a mark. We don't have any of those. I guess we take something. We're just speedrunning at this point. Whoops. Huh. Interesting. Yes. That is much better than our current ring. So, after beating death on floor 10, which I kind of just casually glanced over, then you get to choose which path that you want to take. And this is where I was talking about before, where we get to enter floor 11 for free, basically, after defeating death, either for evil, lawful, or good. But if we want to go to floor 12 and fight the, air quotes, secret final boss of that route, then you need to have enough of your correct stat. And we have like 8 good at this point, so I think we're okay. As a bonus, if you currently don't have enough good, you can literally buy it at the store. Meaning any purchases that you make in a store on floor 11 will provide you whatever that alignment is. So it also sort of helps make sure that you can get enough stats to do whatever you want to do. No, I don't think I will. I usually hate going to high heavens because lots of lasers, lots of projectiles, lots of like forced movement effects, but we have so much damage. This is going to be an absolute bug hunt. It's not okay. I probably should have re-rolled this door into something a little bit more useful. The other thing to note is that each of these like gold candies and stuff like that we're taking would actually allow us to get +1 XP. So even if you're not a I'm gonna eat all the food kind of guy like I am, if you start getting into like floor 11 and 12, you are going to reach max level. It's just nice to get those levels earlier, in my opinion, and I, again, generally don't care about the stats themselves. Nope. Well, we don't have any AoE, otherwise that could be kind of cute. Steady strikes. No. Absolutely not. Although 40% more damage from having Ruthless, be kind of nice. That's actually probably worth it. Oh, Quiver. Thank goodness. Damaging hits with bow, grant a stack of fury. Well, we can get rid of that stat now. We probably should have picked... that up. Equip that, please. Increased effective rage and fury. We gain both, yeah? Berserk. Well, that's right. Hold up. Rage and fury. Never mind. It's our build. Tell you what, I'm just gonna take this guy and drop him on the ground because that bowl sounds like my gig right now. And I will buy these just for the good. So, due to our character scaling luck with our good stat, we apparently can't go above 4. Me squoozy? Up to 4. Okay, I lied. I just wasted a whole bunch of souls. Not that it really honestly matters anything. +1 to cold weapon upgrades. God, that would actually be kind of good. Elemental damage, don't deal any. Sorry, bro. And I don't think that there's a peddler, so we're just gonna leave. So, I'm not sure that anybody's going to mention it at all in the comments, but they might. They might be like, okay, you've got this sick-ass, badass run, Bits, but you're currently on Cinder 0. First off, don't gatekeep. Secondly, this build would have been this ridiculous regardless of which Cinder that I'm on. Now, granted, the odds of me surviving to the point that our build got like this would have been significantly less. Because, well, Cinder 16 ain't no joke. No, give me a potion. Oh, you know what? We can actually get rid of our damage dealt increased. Yeah, we can do that. One strength gives us like 18% more damage right now. I definitely think that it's better than some attack speed. What the frick is this? That's not okay. We're gonna be so fast for no reason. Alright. Well, however this ends, it was real, guys. Oh. Well, I'm the new ruler of the high heavens. Great way to end a video. As always, hope that the run was entertaining or at least educational. If you have any feedback whatsoever, be it questions, comments, concerns, misplay alerts, feel free to leave that in the comments down below. Especially questions. I'm hoping to actually do a lot of informative videos, or at least a handful. I probably shouldn't say a lot. And if everybody who has watched the channel previously knows that I'm always willing to answer questions, even if my opinion is wrong. But especially stuff like, you know, how stuff works, how like maths work. Feel free to put those down there. Also, if you obviously like ended up picking up the game due to this video, or dying of boredom watching me, you know, like absolutely cruise through the end of the game, like this poor sap right here, be sure to leave a comment like that down below. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great time, and I will catch you guys around.